Donald Trump seems to treat breaking the law as one of his favourite pastimes, guys. Right up there with devouring fast food, turning government spaces into gaudy reflections of his own ego and spewing endless nonsense on social media. Now, it's astonishing that after so many scandals, investigations and legal battles, Trump still hasn't grasped a simple truth, guys. When you repeatedly ignore the law, consequences eventually do follow. For years, he's managed to dodge accountability through privilege, bluster and manipulation. But today is not one of those days, guys. It's coming to him and it's coming fast. This time, Trump isn't the only one facing the fallout of his reckless behaviour. His loyal ally, Caroline Leavitt, is now caught in her own storm of lies, humiliation and legal troubles. You know, it's a mess entirely of her own making. She's facing a punishing lawsuit and a harsh court order that expose the rot at the core of Trump's political orbit. We are going to get it in and all, guys, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, it truly does help and support our work. Now, before diving into the chaos surrounding Leavitt's latest meltdown over her idol's courtroom's defeat, it's worth understanding the bigger picture, guys. Trump is an open defiance of a lawful court order regarding SNAP, as outlined by Congressman Jamie Raskin. Once again, the people he claims to represent, it's on full display. You know, a stark reminder that for all his bluster about strength and leadership, accountability still remains his greatest weakness.
SNAP might actually get, those funds might get released?
Yeah, well, I'm extremely encouraged because the courts found that not only was it possible for the government to use these emergency funds to pay SNAP beneficiaries, 41 million people across the country who depend on them for food, but it was obligatory. It's necessary.
Right.
They've got to do it. So Trump and his team have egg all over their face because they were saying, no way, it can't be done. This is impossible. We're not going to do it. They went to court to fight it and they lost. And now they're facing the question, well, do they appeal to show how much they really don't want those people to have the nutrition that Congress provided for them? Or is he going to turn around and pretend that somehow, oh, this was his big game plan originally? He always wanted to pull a fast one at the end. I mean, everybody can see right through that. But the good news is that the emergency fund that we set up in Congress is going to be dispersed to the people, and we're going to be able to make that up. But what we really need to do is the exact same thing with health care. The Trump administration very easily can tell the members of Congress, come back. All the Republicans have been hiding out in their districts. They're not having town hall meetings because they can't face their constituents, but tell them to come back to Washington. We can negotiate it this weekend. Let's reopen the government and let's restore people's health benefits. Let's make sure people can get their tax credits on the ACA so they can pay their health insurance premiums. And let's restore Medicaid so we're not throwing millions of people off of their health care.
I think I just saw that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has notified that next week will also be recess, which means I think that's am I right? That's a sixth consecutive week that he's keeping the House out?
Yeah, I mean, he has completely surrendered the legislative power of the people. This is the people's representatives. And so he's just lying down and capitulating completely to Donald Trump and whatever he wants to do. It's a disgrace and an embarrassment that mean he will go down in history as the worst speaker in the history of our country for doing this. But in any event, we've got emergency conditions in the country because just like we need to restore food, and not just for November, but going forward, we need to restore the health care of the people.
I can't say this enough, guys, because it needs to be repeated. Donald Trump, the man who once boasted he'd make groceries affordable, has become the very reason Americans are now struggling to put food on the table, guys. I mean, despite his empty promises, Trump is now openly defying court orders that require him to provide food assistance to families who can't afford their groceries. Families whose hardships have only deepened because of his disastrous economic decisions. Under Trump's watch, not only has the cost of living soared, but the safety nets meant to protect the most vulnerable have also been ripped away at the same time. Now he's actively blocking aid that could, help parents feed their children. Even as courts have ruled that this action is illegal. It's a cruel and calculated move, guys, that perfectly captures his indifference to ordinary people suffering. Trump's defiance isn't about policy, guys, it's about ego. And while he plays the victim, it's working families who pay the price, unfortunately. And of course, his loyal defender, Caroline Leavitt, is desperate to twist the story, always pretending that Trump's actions are somehow justified. But as we'll see, that narrative crumbles very quickly, especially now that Leavitt herself is facing serious backlash and defeat in court.
Now answered this question several times, Gabe. We are complying with the court's order. We are getting the payments out the door as quickly as we can. USDA sent the guidance to the state. The president is referring to future SNAP payments. He does not want to have to keep tapping in to an emergency fund and depleting it. In the case of a catastrophe in this country, he wants to have those funds preserved, as they should be. And he's made it very clear Democrats should reopen the government. I have one final...
An irate Caroline Leavitt snaps, insisting I've already answered this question. A familiar routine from Trump's allies who mistake deflection for transparency as always. This is the classic Republican playbook, guys. Claim openness whilst dodging accountability. But let's be honest, Leavitt didn't answer anything. She didn't tell the truth. There's a big difference between offering a response and giving a real answer, and she delivered neither. What she did was offer the usual evasive, nonsense type of design to protect Trump and herself type of answer from scrutiny. So the reality is simple, guys. She's being caught lying. Plain and clear, her excuses are crumbling, her credibility is gone, and her corruption is now on full display for everyone to see. Judge orders USDA to make full SNAP payments, calls Trump's post-admission of intent to defy court order. A federal judge smacked down the Trump administration Thursday for refusing to pay food stamp benefits, calling a Truth Social post by President Donald Trump an admission of intent to defy the court order, and requiring the USDA to make payments in full by Friday. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly referred to as food stamps, is among many government programs affected by the ongoing shutdown and has been one of the most contentious issues as Republicans and Democrats spar over how to move forward. It is clear to the court that the administration did not comply, he said. The court order was clear that the administration had to either make the full payment by this past Monday, or it must expeditiously resolve the administrative and clerical burdens it described in its papers. The record is clear that the administration did neither. And Caroline, after freaking out, went on to write, WIC and SNAP benefits at risk for millions if Democrat shutdown continues. Millions of mothers, infants and low-income families who rely on WIC and SNAP, programs commonly known as food stamps, could lose that support in a long-term shutdown. I mean, you have to say, Caroline, let's be clear, this isn't a democratic shutdown. The chaos we're seeing is entirely the result of Donald Trump's weakness and incompetence. For someone who constantly parades around, as a so-called tough guy, Trump's actual leadership record couldn't be more pathetic. His administration has full control of Washington, yet everything he touches descends into dysfunction and complete disorder. Now, there's talk that a few moderate Democrats might cave in to Republican pressure, accepting token compromises from figures like John Thune and Mike Johnson, men who, let's be honest, don't even have the backbone to stand up to Trump, let alone guide him. So it's the same playbook as always, guys. Trump, who is blatantly defying congressionally approved funding, acting as if he's above the law and Constitution as always. So any deal made in Congress is meaningless to a man who governs through ego, not accountability. So here is the question for those wavering Democrats from me. Why give in now? Voters across the country have already delivered a resounding message. A historic rejection of Trump, MAGA, extremism and the political chaos they've unleashed. So even Trump himself admitted that the backlash over his shutdown, has helped the Democrats win sweeping victories. So Americans see it clearly as it is. When Republicans and by extension Trump are in power, nothing seems to work. They can't govern, they can't lead. And they certainly can't deliver for ordinary people, guys. So Democrats shouldn't negotiate it with that type of failure, in my opinion. They should just simply crush it. This isn't the moment to settle for, kind of small wins and just accept it and let it be. No, I think it's the moment to fight back hard, to expose Trump's corruption and incompetence, and to remind everyone that this brand of politics leads only to gridlock and, simple misery. Unfortunately, the goal isn't to compromise. The goal should be it should be a victory. On the end of the day, a complete and utter victory. Democrats must also stand united, fight for the working people and leave Trump and his enablers fuming in defeat, just as Elizabeth Warren urged her colleagues to do so. The message from the people is clear. Don't back down. Just finish the fight and get the job done.
How much does that message matter over and above the kind of structural backlash, right? Like, how are you thinking about this in terms of, we have this term thermostatic public opinion, right? And we've seen it for all the years that I've covered, particularly that Virginia race, right? Democrat in the White House, Republicans probably favored in that race a year later. Republican in the White House, the Democrats probably favored, right? We kind of know the way this goes. Over and above that, what did you see last night from Democrats that says what's happening is more than just the normal swings of the way the electorate works?
So I see this as how it is that someone like Mikey Sherrill, whom I like very much, but is a very different flavor than Zoran Mamdani, basically both ran on the same message. Stop and think about that for just a minute. Mikey and I were co-sponsors on the bill for universal child care. I went and campaigned with Zoran on universal child care because both of them were saying, we understand what's happening to American families. We understand how life is just not livable in a world that is all about tax breaks for billionaires and not making the investments in our families, in our children, not making investments in transportation or bringing down the cost of utilities. That these were candidates who said, I have very specific plans. I'm going to be in the fight to bring down costs for you. And what that does is that helps us really, as Democrats, get to a place where we deliver. We do things that are measurable. We're not just not Donald Trump, which, believe me, that is enough. That's enough to motivate a lot of people to go to the polls. But it's beyond that. And the point is, it's sustainable over time, Chris. It's how you build something out of New York City and out of Virginia and out of New Jersey. It's how you build something out of all parts of the country to say that we get it. The cost of utilities is up 11% since Donald Trump got into office. Cost of groceries is up. Cost of housing is up. And Republicans are deliberately trying to push the cost of health care. I mean, how do you describe it? Through the stratosphere. People are watching their health insurance rates double and triple. And what I felt last night is this kind of joining together among Democrats in how we're in this fight. I'm here in the Senate where Democrats are holding out, saying that we're not going to sign off to a Republican budget that takes away health care from tens of millions of people. We're in this fight to help get those health care costs under control, to bring them down for working families. And I think that's kind of the heart of what it means to be a Democrat.
So the American people want Senate Democrats to stand firm and fight back, because when you actually fight for what's right, the public is always with you. So, you got to keep pushing. Don't cave into the weak Republicans like John Thune. And for the love of reason, just stop pretending Donald Trump can ever be trusted to keep his word. He simply can't. Believing Trump will honor a promise, is political malpractice, in my opinion. He's proven time and again that deceit and, betrayal are the only things he's consistent about. Always. Guys, you have to make him sweat. Kind of make him furious, expose the lies and face him to face the consequences of his own chaos. So every time Trump gets cornered by the truth, guys, he simply unravels, as you know. The struggle isn't just about policy, it's always about proving that integrity and courage can still always triumph over corruption and cowardice. And as always, guys, I appreciate you for staying with me. Hit that like button, please subscribe to the channel, stay connected and stay safe, and I will see you on the next one.